Hey guys, this is broadcast number 2, Wondersmith here again, and this is another viewer submitted video, this time with DragonUK as red Protoss, and Nath as the blue Zerg. Let's get it started. DragonUK is the viewer who submitted this video, and he told me he's just out of the practice league. He's into the bronze league now. And he's having some trouble transitioning from the whole anti-rush rocks thing, and he's just got some bad habits from it. He asked me for any tips about his game, so I'm going to go ahead and do a commentary on this for him. Both teams just making more workers like usual. Nothing really impressive so far wrong. Nice placement for the pylon. And DragonUK is going to send a scout out. That's a perfect timing for a Protoss player. It's usually more common to see the drone that does it scout just because it saves a few seconds, but it's not really that big of a deal. And Nath sending over an Overlord scout, which is, I've seen it done a few times, especially on these 4-player maps when in a 2-player game, because it can be a nasty surprise when your opponent's sitting right next to you and you don't know it. Nath's going to go ahead and scout the other bases too, because I guess he hasn't realized this information yet. Now, it's usually more common to have a 12 gate out of a Protoss player. 9 gate's a little early. You should be pumping more drones than that, otherwise your economy won't be able to keep up with your gateway production. Now, DragonUK left this probe down here for a while, I guess to hopefully scout for to get a better idea of the long-term game plan and not just check for early rushes and whatnot. It's a good move. And Dragon goes for a gas steal. It's a good move. I don't usually see it in lower league games like this. It's usually more effective against a Terran that you suspect is going to go mech or a Protoss player though, but it'll still work. It's got one gateway up. He needs to be producing more drones. This isn't going to be enough to really transition him well, especially against a Zerg who's famous for having massive amounts of units. He does chrono boost this Zealot though, the Zealot production, which is always a good idea for early game, just to help protect against any Zergling hordes and whatnot. I think Nath has finally realized the gas steal, but he's got some quick Zerglings up to take care of it. Let's take another pylon up, and a Cybernetics core. Now, personally, I prefer to go dual gateways and then Cybernetics, but it's really just personal preference because I like to have the quick Zealot production out, and usually use them to early harass and whatnot. Looks like DragonUK was going to send these 2 Zealots down to attack the Nath's base, but decided against it. And he stopped producing anything. He's just waiting on this Cybernetics core. That's really a bad move. You need to be pumping Zealots out of this, and especially workers out of this. It's like a few comments there about the cheesiness of the gas steal, which it's not really cheesy, it's just a good move. Nath's got a few Zerglings out now. Both bases really need more workers. I don't see a lot of worker production from either side. And both sides just building up resources, which you usually only really see in Bronze and maybe Silver League, but it's a really bad habit. Excuse me. Looks like another Zealot and a Stalker coming out. You should never let your Nexus get full energy like that. You really ought to be chrono boosting, especially this Warp Gate technology, and then the Zealot too. Looks like Dragon's gonna finally get up that second gateway. And here comes the Zergling harass. A little later than it could have been, but it's still here. You never want to let your Zealots rush out after the Zerglings like that, because it's always, your Zealots are going to be more effective against Zerglings in a small choke up here than they are out in a field where they can be completely surrounded. And now he's wasting this chrono boost because he has nothing coming out of this gateway. You don't need 300 minerals just sitting around, because it's not going to be getting you anything. It's going to need to be chrono boosting something. Now these Zerglings are just sitting here. He should at least try to keep an eye on the enemy with them. Looks like a Roach Warren from Nath. Good queen up. Looks like she's using Creep Tumor and not Spawn Larvae. Creep is really useful when your enemy base is farther away, not really when it's this close. But she really needs to be pumping Larvae, because that's a way better use of her powers than just spawning Creep. As soon as she gets that energy back, she needs to spawn Larvae on that. And looks like there's a Roach Warren. It's done. See, now he's got both these warp gates, but he's not making anything with them. He's just sitting here and accumulating resources. There we go. Now, a good move would be to chrono boost these warp gates and get out 2 more zealots, and then try to come out here and just destroy these Zerglings. Because you could use the sentry to force field off the escape and just slaughter them with zealots. It takes 3 Zerglings to take down Zealot in one-on-one, and especially if you can get them surrounded, they're completely useless. Here comes 2 more Stalkers. And the 2 more gates are finished. Got both assimilators up now. This should have been turned into a warp gate right away, and we should actually see some kind of proxy pylon down in the enemy base, probably around here or up on this ledge where the enemy can't spot it. It really helps when you're putting pressure on the enemy. I find it helpful really early game, especially against Zerg, to usually not even wait until I get this many troops, but just to constantly keep pressure on them. And that way they don't mass up a huge horde of Zerglings or a huge army of Hydralisks and Roaches, and it just keeps pressure off of melee game and makes them play more defensively. It's like Dragon's putting up 2 Stargates, but he needs to keep producing from these. He's got a lot of resources. He could win this game right now if he just massed up a decent-sized army of Zealots and rushed over to the enemy base. He sends a Zealot up here to check for Nidus Worm or any kind of trickery on the Zerg player's part. Now, here comes the first Void Ray. You really don't want 2 Stargates up when you can only make 1 Void Ray, because it's really just a waste of minerals. So where your Void Ray should be chrono boosted, it's really important to remember to use your chrono boost. Now, I like the Dragon's using hotkeys, but he hasn't really kept up on them. He only has his Nexus on 1 and his 2 Stargates on 2. It's more common to see a Nexus on 0, the Gateways on 9, and the Stargates on 8. And then you reserve the first 5 keys for units. That way it helps with your micro, so you don't have to reach all the way across the keyboard. And if this Nexus was, it really ought to be chrono boosting something. Now Dragon has like 500 minerals, 600 gas, and he's not spending it on anything except this pylon. These warp gates need to be constantly producing units, and so do these Stargates, otherwise they didn't justify their cost. Looks like a fleet beacon from Dragon. Both sides, it would really help them to be a lot more aggressive. We don't see it. We see a few Roaches and like 12 Zerglings from Nath. That's all the army he has. Zergs should have a huge army as fast as they can to help take care of any Protoss units. Now we see a dual expansion from Nath, which is pretty risky, especially when it's not needed. We have 2 expansions. This one has 1 drone. This one has 3. You really ought to expand once, get that expansion fully saturated, and then expand again if you need it. You see he's just accumulating resources, and he's not spending it on anything. Few Hydralisks. There's no mid-game scouting so far by either player. It would help Dragon immensely if he made a single robotics bay, even if he just to make a reserve observer and send it into the enemy base, and that way he can keep tabs on what the Zerg player is doing. This queen's just sitting here. She needs to be spawning larvae, and on this one too. Looks like we do have a queen up here doing something though, which is nice. Once again, these Zerglings and Banelings are just sitting there. So are these roaches, and so are these Hydralisks. Somebody needs to be showing some kind of aggression. Offense is the best defense. 2 Void Rays. He's just gonna try to take out the gas, but then he switches to the queen. There goes a charge. And there goes a few workers. Now I can't tell if this is supposed to be an attack by Dragon or if it's supposed to be some kind of worker harass. Because he immediately flees once those Hydralisks get up there. Not immediately, but eventually in a second. Looks like Nath has a couple more Hydralisks coming out. See, and still, this expansion has 2 drones. It was a complete waste. And Dragon continues to not be producing anything. These need to be